down from 129 to 127 just with a friendly rivalry with Mutsky. As of right now, he's at a 127.32. Barnowl here, his opponent is a well-known racer in the community. He's been around for quite a long time. And it looks like our racer's about to get started. Early in the game, we don't have a whole lot of movement optimization, so we'll talk a little bit more about these racers. Barnowl has a PB right now of about 136.34, so he's got a little bit to catch up with Benteezy. Waller's Prime in the bottom left corner, you may know him for his patented bird toss, out of necessity, unfortunately. But he's been running since 2014 and on and off this category for 2016. And FeralPigMan, he's been running for about 4 years, and this category for about 8 months. You also may know him from his Mega Man runs, and you can also see him speed cubing from time to time. My name is Eli Ministik. I'm on the comms here with...
Hiei?
And S. Diesel.
Alright, this is no secret. Our uncle has fled his area, and Link is trying to figure out where did he exactly go. So, soon, before our eyes, we're going to resolve this mystery. Alright, apparently our uncle has fallen and given us his sword and shield, our only weapons of defense at this moment. And Link is going to head his way to escape. Generally, our runners want to head to the ball and chain guard in good health. And we're trying to look for about a sub-6 time in escape, which is a really good time, around sub-6. Alright, Diesel, what happened here with that staircase? I know you know this explanation.
That staircase led you down to the floor below you.
Wow.
Well, we want to know what's the speed tech behind it. Alright, what happened when you leave that staircase, Diesel?
When you leave that staircase, are you talking about with pumping?
I'm talking about the lag that happens if you go straight down out of it.
I actually was not aware of that.
That is what we call stair lag. If you come out of that staircase, that spiral staircase, you don't want to go down immediately. You want to kind of move left or right, because there's a bit of lag if you go straight down out of it. Here's another one, for example, that we're about to head to. This spiraling staircase soon, we're going to be seeing on the screen.
It saves, what, about 20 frames?
Yep, pretty good.
Our runners have a couple of different options for taking care of the ball and chain guard here. Most of our, well, it looks like all of the runners are going to opt for the 8-slash technique. They could also pick up a pot from the cell before Zelda's and throw that to do half of the damage on that.
My favorite part of escape is boomerang strats, though. That's where my usual focus goes.
Unbeknownst to runners, that's actually a good thing to know, is booming the enemies is much quicker than slashing through them, so that's what you're going to have to see is if there's enemies getting in their way, they're probably going to be boomeranging through them.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that actually reduces on-screen lag, is that correct?
Yes, this is true.
We'll get a chance to see our runners do this when they get over closer to Eastern Palace, when they have to deal with an Armos Knight that's in their way. All in all, there's not a whole lot for our runners to do to optimize their routes through the castle. I mean, they're going right to the basement, right back up. They're really just mostly focusing on having efficient movement. That includes pumping, as well as avoiding nudging into certain walls and objects. It's very important in this game that you align yourself perfectly with the doors as you enter them, as Link will spend a frame or two nudging to the side to readjust. This will be our first large example of RNG that we'll see. These snakes can move in very random directions. It looks like all of our runners managed to get through that room without taking too much damage and without too much time lost.
We're going to head to one of the first rooms where you're going to see the importance of pumping, because as you can see what Helpasaur King has explained, while you're in water, pumping really helps a lot.
Walrus Prime unfortunately got Northwest Key Rat. It looks like our other runners managed to get through the room pretty cleanly.
Yeah, Ben got that really nice setup where he preemptively threw the boomerang because he knew that key was going to drop, and he like started heading towards the exit already, which is super nice.
Looks like all 4 of our runners have avoided the text box so that they can pull that switch, which is really nice.
And all 4 runners with a sub-6 escape. Very, very nice.
Now, there is a possibility that some of these runners may actually skip the Sanctuary Heart. The last race that I saw Ben do, he actually did skip it.
And that he did.
So Sancard, it saves what, about 4 or 5 seconds most to not grab it.
I would say it's like maybe about 2 to 3 seconds, and then it's also 1 less heart that you have to wait to be filled up, like at the end of boss fights and stuff. So I guess like over time it could save little chunks of time that would add up to a big amount at the end, but yeah, I think the actual time of not getting it is right around 3 seconds. Yeah,
it's correct. 3 seconds is about the time if you don't pick it up. But the overall effect of it is more of importance of taking damage from bosses. The more notable one is like Vitreous later on, where you use the goo to help the damage boost and use the iframes. Looks like Ben had really good RNG through the cannonball room there. You always want to kind of see a pattern where you don't have to zigzag as much.
I suppose if you were a madman, you could pump through it.
Alright, this is the Stalfos room. Diesel, care to explain what happened there?
Absolutely. So when you enter that room, there's a certain path you can take. As you noticed, all runners pretty much did. And you are basically killing the top 2 Stalfos before they spawn, which eliminates the bottom 2 Stalfos from spawning at all. And you basically walk this little invisible path, and you throw the pots where the first 2 Stalfos are going to spawn, and it basically allows you to skip that room a little bit. I like to name it as like one of the first like kind of first cool little strats that you learn when you're learning this game.
Our runners will be heading towards our next trick, actually, the damage skip for the big key. In the room that Ben is approaching first, we have a popo that most of our runners are going to bounce off of to get invincibility frames. This will allow them to get close enough to the pot to pick it up from underneath the anti-fairies, and then step on the switch once the invincibility frames are done. Doing all of that saves a tremendous amount of time because you'd have to clear out the entire room of enemies first.
Yeah, and Feral making it really close there. Yeah, he went down to get that extra heart just to be on the safe side. He was down to half a heart.
You also notice our runners are grabbing all these arrows because our boss at the end of this dungeon is very vulnerable to these arrows. So you're going to see them pick up these arrows as much as they can on their way.
We're going to have our next instance of RNG that really impacts the run here with Ben's screen, the Zelda Gamer Room. All of these cannonball spawns are random. They just have to make sure they don't get hit on the way through.
Alright, so Ben was first to the Armos fight. Perfect fight from Ben. Perfect fight from Walrus.
It looks like the only deviation in strategy came from Barnowl choosing to go with the bottom right setup. Very similar. It's only going to save a handful of frames to go with the faster route. All of these runners managed to get through the fight very cleanly.
Yeah, Armos is pretty much a scripted fight. You just want to take them out in that clockwise formation as they kind of head towards you. And yeah, clean fight from all four runners.
One thing we're going to see our runners take a good advantage of here in the overworld screen is you can actually do a quick hop if you just press the A button as you're trying to jump off the ledge. Normally there's a little bit of lag while you're trying to set up for the jump, basically. And just simply hitting A will jump immediately.
Another thing to notice, their rupee count. They all came out with like 30 rupees leaving Eastern, which is interesting. Alright, Benteezy is the first to execute the spin speed technique. You need to use these steps, and then when you spin attack and release dash at that same point, you'll be able to then do this spin speed and maintain the speed as if you're dashing. Feral getting troubled by that green guard. There's actually a strategy so you can avoid that green guard by the bridge. If you tap up and left, you move up 1 pixel before you transition to that screen, and you should not be able to bump into that green guard when you dash there.
You know, for the animation that Link has when he's in spin speed, don't you think we should call it power walk speed?
Sprinting speed.
One of the nicest... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, one of the nicest things about Desert is that we get an opportunity to really put these boots to use. There's a lot of straightaways that our runners are going to use here.
Yeah, I was going to say something to similar to that effect is the movement that you can really tell on the way from getting your book to Desert and then also using that movement inside Desert. A lot of straightaway runs, just where boots really come helpful.
Another thing to note is you're looking at these runners' route through these tall grass and water points. The reason why they chose a route specifically like that is trying to avoid dashing through these bushes as much as they can and through water. Alright, we see the poke and dash strat from Benteezy and FeralPigMan. Let's see what we are going to get from FeralPigMan and Barnowl. Nice double poke and then poke dash from FeralPigMan there.
It looks like Ben had rough RNG with the cannonball room. Walrus managed to dash through it in one attempt.
Yep, that's definitely RNG based, these cannonballs. one good thing to do is using your hearing. You can hear the cannonball. If it sounds, you know that you're probably going to have to adjust as you dash through.
Everybody's getting also their necessary arrows from under the pots. Some of these pots, and most of them in the game, they have, there'll always be arrows under these specific pots, and it is routed in such a way that you pick them up along the way through desert. It's also very important because we're going to be using arrows for the Lamellus fight coming up.
All right, this round is going to be pretty cool. You want to care to see what the what strategy they used to get through that door there?
Yeah, so the key dash. There's a lot of different ways to kind of speed things up using the movement in the way that the movement's designed in this game. Link actually only has his collision checked every 4 frames. So if you were to actually open a key door on the same frame that you would collide with it, Link will actually continue running through it. You just got to be lined up some increment of 4 pixels away from the door. Pretty much everything that is placed on the ground, including pots and torches, are all aligned on a coordinate grid that usually lines up with 4 pixels pretty much every time. So all you got to really do is just line up with the torch, and you can dash in place and move upwards to go right through the door.
All right, our favorite boss, Lamellus. It's only the first cycle Lamellus will pop out of these holes, but it's still RNG based. He will move in random directions, and then every single phase after that, he'll randomly pop out from different holes as well.
In an ideal world, our runners are going to get this in 2 or 3 cycles, but realistically, it's very common for people to get 4, 5, or even 10.
Alright, I love the strat. They're doing the dash and slash Sandman strat.
Yeah, it kind of requires like a premeditated like slash there. Like the Sandman isn't even spawning, but you just swing and he gets damaged there. It's really cool strat.
Whew, take a breather here. Walrus Prime just did a fake flipper, and we gotta be careful. During that state, if you do get hit, you will soft lock. And the game doesn't know where to position you, and that's why we, in our tourney, we allow the rule to immediately allow you to save and quit and begin at Link's house. Looks like on Barnowl side, we're seeing West Side Breeze. He's going to go for that strat instead. Which makes me wonder, yeah, he's just trying to make sure he doesn't get in trouble there.
As you can see, the differences between fake flippers and West Side Breeze are not really too significant. It's about a 6 to 8 second difference if you do both strats optimally. So it's more of a safer way to go. You know, I mean, you're not going to win or lose your race in most situations from that decision alone.
Another thing to note is all our runners skip the rupees and bombs behind Saharsa's hut. So I believe all 4 runners will go for the tree rupees that we'll be seeing later soon. And we'll explain when we see it there. And on Walrus Prime screen, we saw the first instance of a quick warp. It's from that portal. If you enter from the right side, it's generally a free quick warp.
As I understand it, Hiei, that has to do with the camera position, is that right?
Yes, it has absolutely do with the camera position. And it saves about half a second.
Of course, it's free if you know where it is, and sometimes they're different in different parts of the game. I believe when they come back up here for Ether, it's going to be on the left side. Is that right?
It's actually centered for that one.
Thank you for the correction. You can also get one or two of them from where you mirror to the top of Spectacle Rock, and I think it's different each time.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely different. Why it's different is where you begin coming to the Death Mountain descent. This time is because you came from the Old Man. The next time is because you fluted, and that's why it changes it for the Death Mountain work there. Alright, Diesel, do you know what Benteezy just did on his screen?
Yes. It calls the, I believe they call it the Boom Dash. And it requires you doing a thing called what we call item dashing, but also throwing that boomerang in a diagonal input, which hits the switch and allows you to dash in a different direction. And right now, he's sitting on that switch right now. It's giving him constant iframes. So that's why none of the tiles are giving him any damage. It's because the game thinks he's in an iframe state.
It's really nice to do because it helps you save a menu when you get to this next room here.
It helps you save a menu, and you can just be lazy in the tile room, which is awesome.
You could call it a coffee break, a tea break. I guess it depends on what part of the world you're from. We will see our runners use usually the boomerang to kill the last tile. That's the only way that you can really make that, I guess you would call it almost like a side scroller of a room. It's the only way that you can make that actually faster.
And on Waller's Cream side, we saw the first instance of our bomb jump. Really nice there. Some people do some different strats, so let's see what they do here. Alright, our first boss fight with Moldorm here takes 6 slashes. Doesn't matter if you spin attack or poke. Still the same for the fighter sword.
It looks like Walrus and Ben both going for the dash strats to try to minimize the amount of time that they can collide with Moldorm. While you're dashing through Moldorm, you can't take a hit, but Ben falling down, unfortunately. I believe he was trying to dash at the time when he needed to have his sword out. That's rough because it didn't look like Moldorm was going to collide with him there.
Feral's got to be real careful. Ah, there he goes. Down to that last heart, yeah.
Alright, on Walrus Prime screen, this is where they collect these tree rupees. The idea is that you kill one enemy, it will turn into blue rupees. Kill 4 enemies without taking a hit, you'll get red rupees. So what Walrus Prime's doing now is trying to kill 4 enemies without taking a hit. After he did that first initial tree tug, it'll reset the tree poles once again.
With that, it looks like all of our runners managed to make it out of Moldorm, and Walrus is the first to the Master Sword.
Yeah, we're having a really good race by all these 4 runners right now. And the importance of why we're doing all these rupees and getting them is because we're going to have an extortionist monkey in the near future who wants these rupees from us. You shall see that later.
It's never fun to make it all the way to Palace of Darkness and have 109 rupees.
Hey, monkey's got to eat too, man.
He's like a fifth of the way to swimming.
So Walrus is sitting at 107. He's going to be able to pick up 3 rupees until then. Should be able to. But he is going to want to keep that in the back of his head that he's going to need at least 110 rupees before getting into Pod, Palace of Darkness in the Dark World.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this the other day to me. If you boomerang and kill an enemy, doesn't that give you 1 green rupee?
Yes, it does. Well, we don't have to worry about that. There's going to be a room called the Circle of Pots later on where Walrus Prime will get those rupees. Alright, most of our runners are trying to maintain these sword beams, because you're going to see some strategies that they can use with the sword beam, mainly from these first 2 rooms. Let's see what Benteezy does here. He'll spin attack, sword beam, because he wants to maintain some arrows. And then in this next room, he'll sword beam these 2 and dash through. The reason why he's dashing through these enemies is he's trying to manipulate a prize pack later on in Turtle Rock, where he can then manipulate a fairy to appear in one of those rooms from a Pokey. Because the Pokey is also part of that same prize pack with these guards.
Really speaks to how optimized this game is. You know, this is going to be another 50 or so minutes before they actually reap the rewards of that, and it's still a random chance. You know, was it a 50% chance?
Yep, it's only a 50% chance. And then Barnow's strategy there, that's the serve it up din din strat, where you just tap that door twice and spin attack. Alright, on Walrus Prime screen, that was really wise of him going up those automatic stairs without dashing. It actually saves you a bit of lag, because getting on top of the stairs, you'll lag if you're in dash mode.
Looks like Walrus is going to be our first Aghanim 1 in the first fight against him. Diesel, are you familiar with the best way to explain how the blue balls work?
For the most part, yeah. So the way that the random shots you get from Aga, the first one he's gonna shoot here at Walrus is a guaranteed reflective shot, and then there might be a little bit more math to it as to the blue balls that come after that, as we see Walrus get the first one. But Aga shoots in 4 shots per phase. So if I can't remember how many shots it is exactly.
Well, so I think the blue balls are a 50-50 coin flip, if I recall correctly, and then, yeah, you'll see the 5th shot's lightning. So our runners want to get as few of these blue balls as possible. They're going to waste a lot of time from them.
Yeah, and they want to avoid definitely missing any opportunity to hit that reflective shot, because they could cause another lightning phase, and that is around the range of 7 to 8 seconds.
I believe Walrus only had 2, is that right?
Yeah, he had a really good count. You also see another strategy that most of our runners do to try to prevent the warping as much. That's why they're trying to get Aghanim towards the center when he reflects the balls, so it reduces the teleport time.
Looks like Ben and Feral are getting some rough luck.
Yeah, Ben is getting really bad luck with blue balls right now. No, more blue balls.
Hey, on the bright side, at least he's not getting 15, right?
Ooh. On the bright side, both Feral and Barnowl are both not getting good luck with Aga right now.
Alright, Walrus is the first to get to Kiki, our extortionist monkey. He asks for 10 rupees, and he'll follow you until you get to this entrance. And he once again says, hey, if you want me to get through here, I need 100 more. And what Walrus tried to do there is try to get the monkey on his back a little bit sooner. That's why he tried to move in a position so Kiki would jump on his back. Helps a little bit to help Kiki jump to the top of the mountain to open that entrance for us.
And with that, all of our runners have completed Aghanim 1. Next, they're going to head to Palace of Darkness, as you see Walrus Prime is already in. Pretty much just a collectathon. They're going to dash straight for the small keys so they can get to the big key, and from there pick up the hammer and head right to the boss.
We'll see a lot of mirroring and returning to the front of the entrance, because what we're trying to do is collect all these keys to get to the back side of the room, where we're going to be seeing a strategy that I think most of these runners will be attempting. And at that time, I believe one of our commentators will then help us here explain that.
They're also going to be picking up a specific amount of bombs, which they're going to be using here in Palace of Darkness and later on in Ice Palace and Mire as well.
Yes, one of the important things that Link to Pass on the run is understanding where to pick up your resources to save time.
You definitely don't want to be here without bombs or arrows.
Yeah, it actually makes up a big chunk of like strategizing for the entire run, like making sure you have enough arrows, bombs, etc.
Here on the bottom left, we have Walrus attempting the hammer jump, or the hammer yump as it's more commonly known. One thing a lot of our runners will do is they'll use pause buffers to line themselves up. It's a 2-pixel perfect movement. You have to put the bomb down the right y-axis pixel and Link on the right y-axis pixel for the explosion. If you do it right, you can clip right through that railing, and saves you a pretty sizable chunk of time, depending on how efficient you are, like 30 to 40 seconds for most folks. Walrus got it in one try. It was very nice.
Yeah, he got the nice double bomb strat there, where he threw the one bomb to bomb the wall, and he set up the other bomb to do the actual bomb jump itself, which is a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, he used 2 different kind of buffers. I saw a little bit of a pause, and then I saw a little bit of sword buffering. So yeah, you can optimize many different kind of visual cues for that. Some like to use the wall, some like to use select buffers, some like to just use sword buffers.
There's definitely one buffer that's free because you need to switch to bomb anyway, and people will often switch back to mirror just so they can mirror out of the dungeon. So if you're going to use buffers, those are 2 free ones that you have from pausing anyway. Pretty much up to you how you want to learn it.
This is one of those instances why arrows was important, is having those arrows for those mimic rooms so you don't have to stop and pick up anything. That's why we like to manage our arrows as much as we can.
Wow, looks like Ben got his bomb jump with 2 buffers.
Looks like Feral did really well too. Alright, Walrus is in this turtle room. Strategy most of the runners will do is they dash in with their sword, hold out their sword, and then charge it, hammer once, hammer twice, spin attack, and then hammer the left one and the right one so you're more close towards the door. Of course, Benteezy mentions about the statue. This is what we call the sexy statue, because there's a way to push that statue all in one go, and if you can do that, this is what we call the sexy statue.
Walrus got some pretty unfortunate luck with fireballs, having almost 3 in that fight, but managed to get out of it alive.
Yeah, still really good fight from Walrus, and in between those explosions, it was hard to tell, but he was actually pulling on the spikes, which caused no damage in that death animation. And it can save it an actual few frames if you pull back on those spikes during that animation. Kind of limits the slowdown there.
Oh, and by the looks of things, it looks like Barnowl chose not to do the bomb jump. So what you would have to do is you just have to go through this maze, contend with the Katongos, but it's the same exact destination. Shouldn't make it too big of a difference. Could easily make up that time elsewhere in the run.
Good turtle room from FeralPigMan as well there. I know we kind of explained the Helmasaur fight. Of course, in the beginning, you need to break his mask. It takes 17 hammer hits. You also do bombs. But it's more dangerous that way. You also have to wait for the bomb to explode, and Helmasaur moves all about. So that's what... And they're also holding the sword out because it actually helps extend the hammer. So that's why they're doing so. And also, Helmasaur charges at you. It also kind of gives you this protection.
FeralPigMan actually got to show us a way that you can despawn the fireball. If you destroy the shell of Helmasaur King right as the fireball is actually placed on the ground, you can despawn it and save yourself from having to dodge it.
Alright, that was wise of Barnowl to pick up those arrows. He knows he's going to need them later on.
You could also use arrows to finish off the last phase of Helmasaur King, but our runner's going to need these arrows anyway, so they're not going to opt to do that in most situations.
Alright, meanwhile, Barnowl's picking up the shovel. It's going to be short-lived, because we're going to pick up a very useful, important, fast travel item very soon.
It was Walrus that picked up the shovel.
It would appear he also knows where to find the flute, getting in just one dig.
Walrus is about to activate spin speed here. He's going to meet the fastest runner in Hyrule.
Somebody get that man an Olympic sponsorship. In the meantime, it looks like Barnowl is going to attempt arrow strategy against Helmasaur King and does manage to finish him off. Unfortunately, ran out of arrows at the end of it, though, so we're going to have to see him pick up arrows elsewhere in the run going forward.
So far, all our runners are making really good mirror positioning for this dig spot. The reason why they want to dig this way is you actually save a right input. If Link is facing up when he digs, he'll automatically dig to the right. So this is also a good point to mirror that way, just for that reason. Not to mention, there's a quick warp where you can use that flower petal to position it as well.
So I believe both Walrus and Ben did not get the mushroom, so they'll be skipping the powder safety, where I think both Barnowl and Feral are going to be running that.
It's possible. It depends on, like, a good tell is usually how they exit out of the activating swag deck here. If they're more to the left here, you kind of feel like they're probably going to skip it.
For reference, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with the run, this is usually when you would start picking up a lot of your safeties. It looks like FeralPigMan is not going to go activate Powder, so I don't think he has the Mushroom. But typically, right before Blind is a good time, or Thieves' Town is a good time to pick up your safeties. If you can make it through Helmasaur King and Palace of Darkness, you usually have a pretty good chance to make it through the rest of the run with just Fairies and Powder.
One notable place, other time to pick up the Powder, if you do get it, if you're comfortable being Scolded and Blind, is when you go pick up Quake. That's another time you can pick it up by mirroring to the Witch's hut. And that's about, I think, about an 8-second difference there. It's much quicker to do that if you're comfortable with your Thieves' Town and Skullwoods dungeons.
Shout out to Blunt Bunny on FeralPig's side.
I forgot to mention, as Wallace Tremor passed through all that, Ben's about to head into this room which we call the Hellway. See if he goes for the God Pixel. Oh, he did get to the position, but then he had to adjust because of RNG.
Yeah, you can dash straight through that room, but you are still at the mercy of the RNG of the enemies. They could totally get in your way, but if they don't and you land directly on that middle conveyor, you can dash straight through them.
We do actually have our first pickup of the Powder. Looks like Barnowl decided to take care of Powder here before heading into Thieves' Town. For a lot of runners who are going to pick up the safety, it's definitely a great place to do so. The Hellway, for example, has a ton of things that can hit you, whether you're doing it right or not. So it's probably a big ramp up in difficulty if Palace of Darkness wasn't already.
Alright, Walrus is the first to the Blind. This is a scripted fight if you time your hits properly on Blind and dodge his fireballs and movement. Looks like he's got through the first 2 phases that's following to script. And he did a really great Blind kill. Killing Blind outside of the light is really great.
All in all, though, our runners are all pretty close to each other, all within about a minute or so.
Alright, Walrus is here trying to collect rupees, because we do have yet another quest to get a certain item that we need later on, and we need 500 rupees for that. Ben's on his fight with Blind here, and so is FeralPigMan.
Yeah, if you thought Kiki was an extortionist, you should see the Zora King. Three for 3 on blind fights.
All of our runners so far had really great blind fights. Killing Blind outside of the light is really good, really good blind fights. Usually end that way.
that perfect warp into the blacksmith's house. You can warp right into the doorway if you position it just perfectly, just like Walrus did, and it'll save a little bit of time.
Alright, I hope on Walrus' screen we're going to see the hypest of hype moves. Maybe we'll see this fancy fence dash. Oh,
hey!
He gets it!
He just made a lot of people happy right there. He just has no idea. So Walrus picked up the other 300 rupee chest there. So conveniently placed right there before heading into Skull and then eventually buying some flippers. It's one of the many reasons why in the route we go to Thieves next after Pod.
That's one of the nice things about this game over other games in the Zelda franchise, and honestly in the genre in general. There's a lot of ability to choose which way you want to go here in the Dark World. You can do a lot of dungeons out of order. You may even see one or two of our runners maybe one of our runners go after Gold Sword and Silver Arrows. And if they do so, they're going to actually do a completely different dungeon order. But doing so allows us to get to, say, Swamp Palace, which is supposed to be the second dungeon in the Dark World. Allows us to have Tempered Sword there, and it makes it much easier. Looks like Barnowl is going through his blind fight right now. He's a little bit off script, but he's doing a really good job of dodging the fireballs overall. And wraps it up. Nice.
Yeah, that was super solid. If you're going to take damage from blind, you want to try to take damage from the fireballs themselves. You want to avoid taking damage from the head or contact damage with blind as well.
Yeah, I believe it's 1 heart for fireballs, 2 for the heads, right?
Yeah, yeah. And Walrus flying through that torch room, you could barely see what he did, but he lifted up the bottom pot on that right torch, and it allowed him to hit that with a fire rod, and then quickly hits the left torch, and it allows him to continue on. Not even have to deal with the Gibdos at all. So Walrus got that first dash on Mothula and then cleans up that fight very quickly. That was a good fight.
Mothula is definitely a fight you don't want to mess up. Once you start getting a little bit behind on it, the RNG of the fight starts taking over in a big way. The floor conveyors move in random directions, the spikes come out randomly to cross the room, and Mothula himself can be kind of a jerk. He can't take damage from the spikes, so if you knock him into the spikes, it actually overrides any damage you just did to him. And part of this, actually, the Gold Sword, for example, is coded the same way as a class of damage as spikes are, so you can't actually do sword swipes if you have the Gold Sword for any reason. You'd have to do pokes. But because Walrus was able to knock it out very quickly, he didn't have to deal with all of those different RNG elements of the fight.
Yes, that was an intentional death on Benteezy's side. He missed the bomb jump a few times and fell into the pit, so he intentionally death warped out to get more health. This is allowable in inside dungeons.
Oh man, that Wallmaster flew down as Feral was shooting that last fire rod shot and almost blocked it, but he got it out just in time.
Wow, simultaneous Mothula fights from Benteezy and FeralPigMan here.
And simultaneous kills. Nice. But as Ben was also noting in chat that he is also at 0 bombs, so he's now going to have to do a little improv here to find some bombs, especially come up in Ice Palace.
Brewers fan JP asking about intentional deaths and why they would or would not be allowed. One way to look at it is you want to think about the spirit of the speed run. You don't want to abuse it so that you would basically be able to cut out content that you would normally have to cross. This is part of the reason why in the elimination bracket phase, if you were to mess up fake flippers, you would actually have to walk all the way back to the bush. Part of it is just to make sure that, you know, we're not intentionally messing something up to be faster. But a death warp to refill health doesn't gain you any time.
All right, you see Barnowl pick up his fire rod. The reason why you see them dash and bonk off to get the bomb jump, it actually helps you have more frames to make that bomb jump instead of just regularly bomb jumping over. That's one thing we forgot to mention earlier. Well, we also got this category called No Save and Quit if you want to try that. It's actually a little bit more optimized where you can fully see the benefits of save and quitting.
We do get another example of a quick warp, both on Ben's screen and FeralPigMan. They're going to dash into this wall to position the camera so that when they pick up the Quake Medallion here, they can just mirror and it's actually perfectly aligned for quick warp.
Alright, on Wall's screen, he's in the Stalfos Knight room where he's going to try to kill these Stalfos Knights with one bomb, which he does perfectly.
Looks like Barnowl took a death to Mothula. It's going to be a pretty fast recovery to get back to Mothula, though it is a bit of a time loss.
Now Walrus is in the Ice Palace bomb jump, where he's going to try to position himself 1 pixel below that. I don't know which visual cue he uses. I like to use the hat, where I'm generally just 1 pixel down from the black line of the door.
Yo, solid ice movement from Walrus. Movement on ice can be tricky, but if you use the sword or like Walrus did with the hammer, you can kind of navigate through the ice in such a way where you're using the momentum of you either swinging the sword or the hammer, and it just allows you to zigzag through there.
Alright, we get a nice revenge battle there from Barnowl.
Walrus with a great cold stare.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really
That was
good.
great.
Cold Stare is an extraordinarily dangerous boss. You take 4 hearts of damage because at this point in this dungeon, you're supposed to have picked up the blue mail when you're playing this game casually. So you would normally take 2 hits. That being said, though, with those 4 shots, they can only really take 1 or 2 quick hugs. So the strategy is to just use all of your magic to destroy the ice shield. There's a couple of other alternative methods you can use, like Bombos or half magic. You can use half your magic through Fire Rod. And then they like to do a spin slash to get damage on all 3 of the eyeballs. How you proceed from there depends on what kind of strategy you take on the boss. Some people will try to do a poke dash. Some will just do 6 slashes. The key thing is if you keep Cold Stare in the corner, you're going to keep yourself a lot safer than trying to deal with all 3 of them.
Another good part about being up top is that ice that falls, it hits that top wall, so it doesn't splash on you if you're on the top wall area.
Looks like we're going to see almost simultaneous fights out of Ben and Feral.
Yeah, Cold Stare is one of the bosses where I usually get scared when runners get through, is because it is one where you break the ice and you die. It's the worst feeling because you have to refill your magic somehow then, and that's going to be a pretty painful experience. Some runners would opt to then go to Swamp Palace and beat it to replenish the magic and come back.
Yeah, and you're seeing from Feral what the bad thing that can happen with this fight if they kind of get away from you. They wander around and their movement's very sporadic, and like was stated earlier, they do 4 hearts of damage, so you have to be very careful.
One thing that our runners can use to their advantage against Cold Stare, though, is if things do go off the rails, when you destroy any boss or any portion of a boss, they explode. It's like they're made of C4 or something. But the Super Nintendo can only run so fast throughout that kind of animation. They can use that lag to position themselves better for the next sword slash.
We'll see some routing differences somewhat potentially here, as some runners would like to pick up the Ether and Ice Rod at this point.
Yeah, it looks like both Walrus and Ben are heading straight into Swamp, and they'll probably end up going after this because they're eventually going to need that medallion to get into Mire. So depends. They don't have to go for the Ice Rod as well, but more than likely they might as well grab the Ice Rod with Ether Medallion.
It's kind of like Christmas shopping. If you do it early, great. You know, if you do it late, no problem. You just got to have the presents for Christmas, because if you don't, you're really going to hate yourself when you're walking up to Trinex and you don't have that Ice Rod.
So yeah, we're actually seeing Feral go get his now, and then that'll save him a trip doing it later.
Why we see runners do that is they're trying to make sure they have full health when they head into Mire, because that first room we call Mire 2, it's really great to have sword beams at that time. So trying to make sure they maintain their full health when they get into that dungeon.
As we mentioned before, the game expects you to be at this dungeon a lot earlier than, say, having done, I don't know, 3 other dungeons in the Dark World or 4 other dungeons in the Dark World. So going through this, you know, you are one-shotting enemies. You know, you are generally with more health than you would normally have. The hook shot doesn't have a whole lot of utility elsewhere besides a couple of optimizations like with ladders and the Death Mountain ascent. So it doesn't really hurt us to grab this later.
Yeah, I like doing swamp in this order because it gives you a little bit of a breather. You're an hour into the run, and you know, a lot is riding usually at this point. So it's a straightforward dungeon. The enemies are pretty weak. It allows you to kind of collect your senses a little bit and kind of get ready for the rest of the run.
Nice strategy after picking up the hook shot by Walrus there. He was able to then get to the skull and hook shot to the key.
That's a pretty narrow window to get that through the 2 railings there, isn't it?
Yep, but there's a lineup for that. How you set that up is when you walk up the automatic stairs, you want to align yourself against that statue. So when you walk up to the big chest, you're right on that right side. And then all you have to do when that text box appears is you just hold down and right. It'll move Link to the proper position to just menu to hookshot, and you'll always get that perfectly all the time. As you can see, Walrus wisely picked up another bomb because he knows he needs a bomb for Meyer, and he also needs a bomb for the Ice Rod. So it's a good bomb pickup in Swamp right there.
Looks like Barnowl has made his way to Cold Stairs, so far having a good fight. And wow! Walrus, the madman. With the 0-cycle quick kill on Argus. Holy smokes.
You're not going to get an any better Argus fight than what you just saw right there. Maybe Taz, but that is about as good as it gets.
I'm shook over here. I'm shook.
We may be missing Bird Toss today, folks.
I don't know. I've been seeing Bird Carry overtake that meme lately.
Also on Benteezy's side, you saw him hook shot to that skull. He actually item dashed to that skull, so he puts him into a different state. So then when he pushes that statue to that skull, he'll automatically be able to pick up that skull easily to push the statue over it.
As best as I understand it, it has to do with Link's walking animation and how he doesn't always move forward a certain number of pixels in each frame, but dashing does, and that's what spin speed basically is. Or hook dashing. We will get an opportunity to see sword climbing. Yay, do you have a better explanation for that?
Well, it's still like item dashing with the hook shot, but while you're on the stair, it puts Link yet again into that faster state. While he's on the stairs, you can see how fast he zips up the stairs then, as he holds out that sword. It is a faster strat of why runners do that. It's about, I don't know, there's just about a few, like 1 second save or so. It's not too much.
It sure looks nice.
We'll see if Ben does that for us.
So Walrus getting his Ice Rod, he's going to have full health going into Meyer, which, as Hiei was stating earlier, is going to allow him to do a really nifty, he's probably going to try to do a really nifty strat in what we call Meyer 2 with the whiz robes that spawn in that room.
If you want an example of how optimized this game is, this is a really great room to watch.
And FeralPigMan with an excellent first phase Argus.
My man.
Of course, we do see it.
I am not disappointed.
Rawlers lives up to his name.
Very nice. So there we saw Walrus take out those Wizrobes before they disappeared. And in order to do that, you need to have full health. So you have sword beams to take out that first enemy as you walk in. Allows you to take him out, dash upwards, and then eliminate those Wizrobes before they can disappear again, removing the need for you to have to wait for them to reappear.
Just to give our audience a little bit of a sense of where our personal bests are for these runners, just to read them off, Ben here on the top left has a 127.32. Barnowl has a 136.34. Walrus Prime over there in the bottom left has a 128.31, and FeralPigMan has a 130.57. So all in all, these racers have a pretty narrow gap between them overall. Some of our runs in this tournament, even that I've been in, have been a good 15-20 minute PB difference. So it's exciting to see how close they'll end up when they get to Ganon's Tower. FeralPigMan had a choice between memes and his health, and he chose the faster Mire 2. I guess I'm in his camp. All right, so we're 2 out of 4 on bird tosses. You think we're gonna make it to 3?
That would be up to our Barnowl here, right?
I'm riding on the 3. Oh, so Feral had a little bit of bad luck there with that last Wizrobe. As you can see how long it takes if you cannot get him killed quickly enough.
It almost looked like he got frame ruled.
Yeah, it did look like that. He wasn't doing any damage to that Wizrobe.
As we can see on Ben's screen, he's pushing the block and able to use his item. Here's another reason why our runners are keeping a low bomb count when they get into this dungeon is for a quick menu. By throwing the last bomb, the game will automatically switch to Fire Rod. So that's why Walrus Prime was able to Fire Rod that switch really quickly.
Here we have Walrus showing us the patented WQ Vidi technique, getting a 0 cycle out of it too. How this works is our runners are going to take Link and put him into the poisonous goo, which does 1 heart of damage per invincibility cycle. By doing that, they can do sword spins in the middle of all of those eyeballs. If you do this optimally, you can do as little as 4 hearts of damage to yourself, but it is by far the fastest way to do this fight. I would even argue it's a little safer too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tricky fights, and an argument for if you don't feel comfortable with low health and doing that type of damage boost to have usually it's like a viable reason to get powder in your run just for that fight alone.
I mean, the game is a bro after all. They give you an anti-fairy right before that fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Looks like Walrus there is trying to tear down the Waffle House. And we'll get to see our Vitreous fight out of Ben here, and then shortly thereafter, it'll be FeralPigMan. One thing that a lot of newer runners who are trying to do this strategy may have mistakes with is it's very easy to accidentally poke the eyeballs instead of charging up the entire spin. So it's important that you spend enough time in the goo outside of the circle of eyeballs so you charge up your entire spin, then just dive right into them while you have iframes. Oh, and it looks like FeralPigMan having that mushroom out. He was going to try to do fake powder. That's a fun glitch. He didn't need it, though. That was an excellent zero-cycle Vitreous. That's 2 out of 4 already.
Alright, Walrus with that 4-torch light up and the hook shot dash on one of the torches to fall back in the chain. Really nice.
Also using that hook shot for the invincibility frames through the roller pins. It's always a nifty little strat there.
Funny thing that our Nintendo booklet actually mentions that.
Yeah,
it
does.
Use the hook shot that way.
Yeah.
We did get to see an excellent example of Barnowl here walking basically through the fire snake. These fire snakes only do damage from the front of the fire snake, so if you're ever in a pickle, don't worry about it as long as you don't hit the head.
Feral narrowly escaping getting Dead Rock there. Easily one of the most annoying enemies in the game for obvious reasons. You can hit them in the wrong spot and they'll just block your path completely.
It's either those or the Kadongos. They're all annoying.
Yeah, the Dongos. Especially in pod, they're really, really annoying.
Let's see what Walrus does here. Having sword beams in this next room is really, really nice.
Here on Benteezy's stream, we get an opportunity to see that fairy that we manipulated for about, I don't know, 50 minutes ago? Or 40 minutes ago?
Yep. The 50% price pack actually came through there.
Also had a pretty solid chomp room as well. Again, utilizing those invincibility frames you get when the peg switch is opened underneath you. You can use those iframes to your advantage to just kind of like move through enemies and not take any damage. And also a nice laser dash there from Walrus.
Those laser beams work the same way as the fire bars do. There's only the front end of it that actually does damage to you, so you just require some good timing.
Ooh, these chops giving Feral some trouble here.
Very nice.
Yeah, that was a good save.
Pretty sure I would have died. We get to see backdoor strats out of Walrus Prime here for Trinex. It's just a little bit faster, and sometimes you can avoid the second cycle or the first cycle.
There's the fairy manip for Feral just in time.
This is a very solid Trinex with by Walrus.
Looks like Barnowl managed to get a 1 cycle on Vitreous as well. It's very clean Vitreous all around. 2 out of 4 of them with a 0 cycle.
Oh, I'm hearing from chat we have PB Watts here on Walrus Prime right now. All right, nice. Walrus Prime opening Ganon's Tower a little bit lower. The reason why you want to do this is the crystals would appear sooner. So it's a good move by him. And Benteezy is on his way for the Trinex battle. Smart that he remembers to menu before killing the fire redhead. Because while this head is exploding, you can't menu.
There's only so many other instances of this in the game where you have to worry about that too much. We'll see our runners hopefully switch to hookshot, or if they're going to hover instead, but they'll switch to hookshot before they finish Moldorm 2 later on in Ganon's Tower.
Alright, FeralPigman's turn. Goes backdoor strats as well. This way he's trying to ensure the 1 cycle. Usually guarantees it a lot more.
Truthfully, the big danger of going with the backdoor strat on Trinex is just the spikes in the corner. For the most part, you know, the rhythm of the head attacking you is going to be the same either way. Feral did get an extra sword spin on the head of the Trinex before it became vulnerable only in the center. Before it gets all the way to the bottom left corner, you can actually do sword slashes and spin attacks on the head, which is normally invulnerable once it's managed to make its winding path around the room.
Walrus taking on the Ice Armos fight, which is very similar to the Eastern Armos fight. You're just in a little bit of an opposite direction. Found a little trouble there and had just enough arrows to take out that last one. Very nice.
Get a quick high five from Barnowl and FeralPigMan there. As one leaves, the other enters. Alright, for Walrus, he's gonna have to hope that one of these guys drops an arrow or picks up the pot. Okay, nice.
Clutch 10 drop. Wow.
Yeah, the 10 drop's super good.
I had a 5 happen to me in pod the other day, like as I was jumping off to go down to that lower key, and that's just the luckiest thing when you have no arrows. It's pretty good to get.
Yeah, especially here in GT heading into the gauntlet, arrows can save you a little bit of time in the first and second room there.
Walrus with nerves of steel through Ganon Ball Z.
Really good gauntlet one. You do want to arrow that Stalfos always.
Barnowl in a tricky spot with the chomps, but does manage to slide through. That was close.
Yeah, he went with a safe and pretty consistent way through that room.
Ooh, really good Lamo too there by Walrus Prime.
Yeah, you can utilize the fire rod on those Lamos. They take 2 fire rod shots each, or 2 spins with the temper sword.
Oh, we saw a powder dash there by Barnowl.
Walrus is having a great gauntlet. Oh my goodness.
Left himself just enough magic to do these torches.
Yeah, that was good management of him. Generally, you can also do that room completely with no magic as you get in, but you will have to pick up all the magic from the pots now.
Yeah, it's big time waster. Not fun.
Looks like FeralPigMan had a rough miss on one arrow on Ice Armos. This is going to cause him to have to go through the entire cycle, but he did manage to recover here.
One thing to note about that Ice Armos battle is how long those Ice Mars stay alive. It does affect the Fire Bats in Ganon's phase.
Somehow Walrus missed that one bomb shot that he had. I think he may have thrown it just slightly a little bit too soon and it went too far to the left. So he actually had to backtrack in that previous room with spikes to get bombs in the chest, which are conveniently placed there for you.
Right, really easy Moldorn too this time.
Yeah, he was being a big old jerk. He was utilizing a neat mechanic to where if Moldorn is like on his way towards you towards the edge, you can hold out your sword and push against him, and you'll stay on that platform. You'll just bounce between the edge and Moldorn's head. It's a really, really good little safety strat there.
Alright, Aga 2 will be 3 Aghanims now, 2 fake ones that will shoot those balls, and then the original can still shoot blue balls.
Wow, by the looks of things, I'm taking a quick look at the timer on Walrus's Prime screen. He's about 17 seconds ahead of his PB going into Ganon here. If he has a good fight, he's got a PB on his hands.
Let's hope for good RNG for Walrus here now.
Yeah, the major RNG aspects to the Ganon fight are the warps that he does in the third phase. He's going to want little to none of those warps that he does.
Alright. Nice kill by Trinix from Barnowl as well. He's going to make his way to Ganon's Tower as well. Oh no, Feral! Oh no, torch glitch. Missed.
So yeah, Walrus unfortunately missed the torch glitch. The idea is to light that left torch before the right one goes out, which will prevent you from having to light the right one at all. The right torch will stay lit the entire time, and you only have to relight the left torch. It's a huge time loss and just in magic, but you can still definitely do the fight. Just gotta be a little bit more careful.
If you get really lucky on RNG with the Ganon Warp itself, it is still actually possible to pull off a triple on the cycle, but you pretty much need him to land right next to the bottom left or bottom right torch. Looks like we also have Benteezy joining in this Ganon fight.
Oh, and he took a death there.
Yeah, with Green Mail, Ganon Hugs kill you pretty much one shot because you have 8 hearts of damage from that. And the Trident itself does 4, and Fire Bats do 4 as well, yes.
That'll be enough to finish up Ganon on Waller's Prime side, though. It looks like he'll be finishing just over 128.30.
I think Feral might be setting up for Fake Powder here. He gets it.
And that is an official speed racing TV time for Walrus of 128.42. GG Walrus.
GG. We'll see if we can raise Walrus to do an interview with us here. As we watch Benteezy, Barnowl, and FeralPigMan make their completion of Ganon's Tower and Ganon himself.
Nice recovery by Barnowl, getting the Arbos kill.
FeralPigMan got really close to potentially despawning the rest of Ganon's tower. Do you have a good explanation for how that works?
Well, it's the oh my god.
Oh no.
The when you head up the tower at the exact frame that the other torches lights finally go out, it will despawn the entire tower of all the enemies, and fortunately by doing so you won't be able to face Aghanim, and that will not give you the hole to face Ganon.
Yeah,
and so if that happens to you in a run, you mirror out.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ben took an unfortunate fall there. Looked like maybe just a minor misstep.
And Feral's gonna have to pick up this other bomb chest. Luckily, there's these bomb chests here to blow up this bomb hole here.
Oh,
Nintendo,
yeah.
you did the right thing for once. Put those bombs in the right place for us.
Coin strats out of Barnowl.
Yes, love it. And what was it was unfortunate for Ben to fall, but it was also good that he didn't burn too much magic before he fell.
Getting a really nice triple out of FeralPigMan down there. Wow.
Wow, that was really good.
Looks like he's paying for it with some difficult patterns, though.
Aga never plays fun.
Alright, we forgot to explain what happens in this Ganon final phase, but basically, as Ganon is warping, you can spin attack and hit him, or you can actually slash. At that state, he becomes vulnerable, and you want to do the spin attack 12 times to kill Ganon with the Temper Sword.
Check, check.
It appears we have Wallace Prime here. GG on the race.
Hey, thanks. Thanks. It was a fun run until, you know, things happened.
Yeah, so we couldn't tell if maybe there was just an issue lighting the torch glitch there right in the end.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was getting frustrated with the teleports, and then I missed my quote-unquote free spin right before the torch glitch, which kind of threw me off my rhythm, and then my input got ate by, you know, when the torches go out. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
it's bad timing, and then the fire red input got ate, and then I cried the whole rest of the fight. So. I felt like I was playing out of my mind up until that point. Well, up until like Turtle Rock, I think.
You legit were playing out of your mind. What that is like the best definition of your play today, man. It was really
I think
good.
I think that's far and away my best torches time in Mire. I looked. I don't normally look, but it's the first time I ever looked. And they say what 20 minutes for a really good player, probably more like 21 for me. It was like 126. 25 or something like that. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Well, how about that zero cycle Argus?
I'm sorry?
How about that zero cycle Argus you did?
Yeah, that was good. I was excited that happened. I don't always get it, but I'm getting better. You know, practice. And we got it in the race, so that was cool. And I got a gold Mire, which I don't know if I should be allowed to keep it, because I normally menu to mirror in that fight and neglected to do that. So I think I have to kill the gold, unfortunately.
Hello, friends.
Yo, GG.
Yes, we are joined by Benteezy. GG.
Yo, Ben.
A sick run, Walrus.
Yo, thanks. Yeah. It was until the end.
What happened at the end? I just saw the notes in chat. I'm watching the stream.
My run, I missed Torch Glitch.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I was like, where's my splits? I was 17 and a half ahead going into Ganon with something like 20 to save on Ganon because he warped out a lot in my PB. He also warped a lot in that fight. But, Mystic Torch Glitch was the end of the PB chances there, unfortunately.
Yo, GG Walrus.
Thank you. GG's.
And Benteezy also.
GG's, man.
That was fun. How'd your run go, Feral? What went well for you?
It was okay. I actually was ahead going into Ganon's Tower and then like totally imploded and lost like 5 minutes there. But
Oh man.
like overall it was a decent run, I guess.
Yeah, these things happen. Ganon's Tower is so hard.
I heard you were on a 127 pace.
At least, yeah. I mean, I was minus 28 going into Meyer with something like 45 seconds to save in the rest of the run, but I sort of fell apart. A little bit in T-Rock, and then I missed Torch Glitch, which ended any chances. It was fun. It was exhilarating to be on that kind of pace.
I heard there were fence dashes and bird tosses this run.
There was a fence dash for me and a bird toss as well. I did, for the fans. But
Same.
did everybody bird toss the bird?
I think we had one person kill the bird on accident.
That'll happen.
Yeah, I was gonna toss him, but then I bonked, and I didn't want to get owned, so I just killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Felt bad though.
You got to do what you got to do.
Better than sacrificing a good Meyer too.
Hey, we're 3 for 3 for you guys for fence dashes, so thanks for that.
I saw Mutsky in the chat. I was like, there's no way I can miss fence dash now. He'll never let me live it down. That was a fun run.
Yeah.
Plus 4 minutes and 8 seconds at Ganon. No big deal. But other than that, I got 0 sec Argus, so that was fun.
Yo, same.
Yeah, you both had a really, really good Argus fight.
For the most part, great bosses all around from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I had a little trouble with Helma, and my Landmo wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And Ice Armos, I don't know how I always goof that fight up, but it seems to happen all the time. Luckily, I had 3 arrows left when he turned red. So
he had just enough arrows. Yeah, that was super clutch.
Yeah.
Looks like with that, we have Barnowl finishing up his run. He's going to finish up just over 139.15.
Yo, GG Barnowl. I got to meet Barnowl. Came to the Seattle area for Northwest Speed Fest.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so Barnow's going to finish with an official time of 139.19. GG Barnowl.
This was a really, really, really nice race between all of our runners here today. Everyone got sub 140.
Heck yeah, dude. It's always good to see.
So looking forward, I believe, Ben, this was your second match. Is that right?
Yeah, I have one more match, which I'm not going to win if I lose 4 minutes on Ganon again. But
What about you, Walrus? Have you already had your first match?
Yeah, I raced Tear last week, Wednesday, and then Feral here was my second match. I got one more coming up with Tina Hacks. So
It'll be interesting to see. She's really been progressing fast with her PB. And Feral, you said, have you already done your other match?
I raced Tina last week, I think, so I just have to race Terror.
It'll be exciting to see how you guys finish out your group stages. Definitely putting on a great showcase for us here today.
Yeah, I was hoping, my goal was to PB in every single race I ever did, but it didn't work out that way today. It was looking like it. I was pretty hyped to do it again because I PB'd
That's a pretty
last
lofty
week.
goal.
I know. I'm a lofty guy.
You don't aim low. It's straight for the moon.
Yeah. I got a PB last week in my first race, and it was looking like I was going to do it again, but then I choked a little bit, so unfortunately Barnowl won't be joining us. Dang.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I was waiting to say GG to him. So I guess I'll just bow out then. Thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for commentating.
Thanks for the race.
GG's to everybody that played.
Yeah, GG.
And,
Benteezy. Congrats on your win.
Good luck in your future races, you guys.
Same to you.
And I'm looking at the schedule. We do have quite a few races tomorrow. Namely, we have on Friday 1 p.m. Oh Hey It's David versus Dark Mind Demon. Then at 3 p.m. we have Mike the Viewer versus Maltzy. 6 p.m. we have Fricker22 versus Solid Man 92. And also at 8 p.m. we have Jet BB versus D-Rock. And at 10 p.m. we have our very own Dark Magician and S Diesel in presence.
Oh, that guy, he's terrible. That S Diesel, he's gonna do terrible.
Good luck to everybody tomorrow. That's a lot of races, a lot of good Zelda content going on right now. I love it. Love it.
Of course,
What
we
about
want to
tonight?
thank all our runners today. Thank you so much for racing for us. It was a fabulous show.
Yeah, no problem. I was glad to be a part of it.
Thanks for commentating, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Commentary crew for sure. I know it's not easy to do commentary on the same game over and over again and try to keep it fresh. So, shout outs to the commentary squad.
Well, when you have the originator of the bird toss itself in your race, there's pretty easy material.
Easy content to come up with, man.
Yeah.
And a great race, too.
Yeah, shout outs to the Speed Gaming crew as well for putting this together, and our tournament organizers, Scrivo and Greenham.
Thanks to them, folks.
So,
with that being said, that is the last Link to the Past No Major Glitches race for today, if you're Eastern time like we are. Most of us are. That being said, though, we may actually have the Zelda 2 randomizer still going. Otherwise, you'll be tuning in tomorrow. As CA mentioned with our schedule, we have a full day packed full of games. Lots of interesting races to see as we finish up this group stage. We're about, I'd say, a little over halfway through all of our races. So we still have a lot of great content ahead.
what did Scrivo made an announcement earlier? 90 matches complete, 72 remaining to be scheduled, and 30 on the schedule. So yeah, about halfway.
So stay tuned, folks. Here on the Speed Gaming family of networks, it's going to be exciting to see how this progresses going into that elimination bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you, Hiei, and thank you, Yudit, for joining me. I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Yo, good luck.
Thank you,
Good
Diesel.
luck, man. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Any final words you want to say to your fans, Walrus?
Big day.
All right, and what about you, Feral?
Yeah, I guess big day. Thanks for watching, guys.
All right, thank you guys so much for showing up, and thank you our viewers. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this tourney at all.
Agreed. All right, see you guys.
Yep, thanks again. That's me.